Bonjour, bienvenue, hello, and welcome. I'm Dennis Trudeau, and I'm thrilled and pleased to be welcome to the Montreal Bloomsday Festival online variety concert this Sunday afternoon. I'm Dennis Trudeau, and for those who caught my conversation yesterday with Margie Gillis, with the brilliant Margie Gillis, she was wonderful, or if you were on this morning's historic walk, virtual or not, welcome back. I'm delighted to be here as MC for a concert really unlike any other. We have musicians standing by in Montreal, Sainte-Marthe-sur-le-Lac, and in Buenos Aires, ready to conjure the musical influences of Leopold, Stephen, and Molly, the iconic main characters of James Joyce's Ulysses. Three writers are also here to read from their works that bring the past roaring back to life. First, Festival Bloomsday Montreal acknowledges we are on the indigenous territory of the Tiohtià:ke and that the Kanien'kehá:ka, or Mohawk Nation, is the traditional custodian of these lands and waters. Our theme for our 10th anniversary year here at Festival Montreal Bloomsday is origins. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Positive, but dig a little deeper and you find that at the origin of almost everything, an object, an idea, a journey, even a love affair, there's a disruption or a sometimes brutal and heart-crushing ending. And that's certainly the case for the origin of so many of the Irish in Canada, as we'll hear in the first two books of the readings from the first two works we'll hear today. The Irish left their homes because they had to, and despite incredible hardships, many survived and thrived, and lucky for us, because if not, we would not be here enjoying this Festival Bloomsday Montreal. To get us in the mood for this concert, for a stroll down memory lane, Kathleen McAuliffe is with us in cyberspace to sing a tune that's referenced in all the way through the novel Ulysses. It's a repeated hint that through all their dissatisfactions and blatant infidelities, Leopold Bloom and Molly Bloom both hear Love's Song of Yore. Kathleen, good to see you again. Seems an online Bloomsday concert can't start without you.
Thank you.
I see you have a backup band. Where are you exactly, and who's that with you?
I'm in St. I'm here with Geraldina and Claude, the fiddler.
Oh,
and we're
good.
forming a new band.
That's nice to hear. You're all socially distancing and you've got your
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's not be too careful. All right, when you and Geraldina are ready, please regale us with Love's Old Sweet Song.
Thanks, Dennis. Okay. Once in the dear dead days beyond recall, when on the world the mist began to fall, out of our dreams that rose in happy throng, lo, to our hearts' love song, an old sweet song. And in the dusk, where fell the twilight gleam, softly it wove itself into our dream. Just a song at twilight, when the lights are low, and the flickering shadows softly come and go. Though the heart be weary, sad the day and long, still to us at twilight comes love's old song, comes love's old sweet song. Even today we hear love love song of yore. Deep in our hearts it dwells forevermore. Footsteps may falter, weary grow the way, still we can hear it at the close of day. And till the end, when life's dim shadows fall, love will be found the sweetest song of all. Just a song at twilight, when the lights are low, and the flickering shadows softly come and go. Though the heart be weary, sad the day and long, still to us at twilight comes love's old song, comes love's old sweet song.
Okay, am I unmuted? Kathleen, Geraldina, that was beautiful. That was lovely. Thank you. We'll be back to you too over the course of the afternoon. Now we're going to go back. That was, that rakes old memories, right? From the late 19th century, that song. We're going back farther in history, back to 1798, and to a widespread but ultimately unsuccessful uprising against British rule in Ireland. The centenary celebrations of that uprising in 1898 revived national sentiment in the pubs and the drawing rooms of Dublin. And by 1904, when Ulysses is set, Leopold Bloom, son of Hungarian Jewish immigrant, is being subjected to more overt disdain than ever before. Concert singer Molly Bloom, half Jewish herself, born in far-off Gibraltar, daughter of a retired British Army officer, has had a number of her contracts canceled, though she's far more talented than the, quote, lot of sparrow farts skittering around Irish homemade beauties. So the song is The Minstrel Boy, and here to sing it for us is Mark Evans. Hi, Mark. You're from the United States originally. What's the origin of your coming to Montreal?
Oh my, let's see. I have to turn it on, don't I?
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah. Okay, so I have to click on it, I guess.
you're on.
Oh, there we go. Start my video. Okay. I am here. Yes, I am from the United States. Yeah.
And what brought you and made you part of Montreal?
Ah, well, I've been coming here for about 30 years. I married a beautiful Quebecoise opera singer, Dominique Labelle, and she was offered a position at McGill University, and I took early retirement from my university in Massachusetts, and we relocated.
Oh, what a lovely story. And you're going to do the Minstrel Boy for us. Take it away.
Okay, yes. The minstrel boy to the war has gone. In the ranks of death ye shall find him. His father's sword he hath girded on, and his wild harp strung beside him. Land of song, cried the warrior bard, although the world betrays thee, one faithful sword thy right shall guard, one faithful heart to ring in liberty. C'est ça?
I thank you, Mark,
You're welcome.
the minstrel boy.
Mm.
You're not going anywhere because we have another song from you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, as you can see, we have a lineup of artists for you. You haven't seen the half of them yet, and there's song and music and readings to come. So I just want to tell you that I'm giving the intros to our artists, but if you go to the Bloomsday Montreal website, you'll find complete bios of everyone who's appearing today, and you'll find some interesting stories as well. So please visit our website if you can. My next guest needs an introduction, but you'll be glad when that you've been introduced to him. He's the distinguished author, Peter Behrens, and he won the Governor General's Award for his first novel titled The Law of Dreams, which you'll be reading from today. Peter is a native Montrealer. He's published several more novels to international acclaim since then, and he's also a prolific essayist and reviewer, screenwriter, mentor, professor, you name it. Welcome to Bloomsday Montreal, Peter.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Now, I want you to tell me a little bit of the story about getting the Dreams book published, if you would. It's hard to believe now. It's been translated into at least 9 languages, won the GG, but it was rejected repeatedly by publishers.
Yeah, I can't. It's just a funny business, is it not? I went around I remember vividly sitting in certain people's offices in New York and having them explain to me why this could not be a novel. And then suddenly, it was. And everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people loved it. It's a strange business, as you know.
Yes, it's a strange, like they say in Hollywood, nobody knows anything, right?
Yeah. I went from flavor of nothing to flavor of the month for a little while, which was fun.
And is there anything in the works or coming up you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I've published a series of novels about my family. Law of Dreams is really about the mostly imagined life of my great-great-grandfather coming to Montreal during the famine. But I worked down through my family in other novels. The O'Briens is about my mother's family, the O'Briens of Montreal. Carry Me was really about my father's half Irish, half German family. And I'm now working on a book that's that's really a novel about my sister's life coming of age as a queer person in Ancien Regime Montreal, and that was not an easy thing to do at a time and place when that is not an easy thing to do. So that's what I'm working on now. It's all family stuff.
Interesting. Now I think we should let you set the scene for the passage you're about to read from The Law of Dreams.
Great, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, the piece I'm reading, it just begins and ends on a 3-masted bark. These were the ships that were kind of totally common. They were the 18-wheelers of the seas in the 1840s. The one my people are on is sailing out of the great, huge, modern industrial port of Liverpool in the 1840s. It's a cheap ticket to what the Irish think of as America. They're going to Quebec, but as far as they're concerned, they're going to America. They're taking a boat out of Liverpool because it's only 3 pounds a head. The Canadian lumber boats come over carrying lumber, and they have empty holds for the way back, and they're packing them full of Irish in the summer of 1847. So these are my people, and my protagonists are 2 teenagers, though that concept maybe hadn't been invented yet, but 2 young Irish people called Molly and Fergus, and they don't know really where they're going. They're not sure that it's 40 days or 4 days across. They're too embarrassed to ask, but they're on a ship for America being towed out of the Mersey River and the great busy harbor of Liverpool. Heading for Quebec. So can I begin? Okay, I'm gonna read. A steam tug was towing Laramie out through the busy traffic of steamers, ships, and barges. Sailors armed with pikes went below hunting stowaways, while the emigrants were herded up a pair of ladders and squeezed into the ship's narrow foredeck. Sailors stood guard at the ladders, and a clerk from the ticket shop began calling out names, checking them off against the passenger list. They were packed so tight on the peak of the ship that people were lifting their children up onto the rails. Oh man, this is an awful business. I don't like this at all, Molly gasped. Never would he have pressed cattle so close. To distract himself from the grasping panic he could feel rising in his throat, he stared up through masts, spars, and rigging to the white sky. Can you control the song of fear in your head? It never really goes away. You are wound up with it like a French ticker. After hearing their names and displaying their tickets, they were allowed to climb back down to the main deck, where they stood along the crowded rail. Tugs were buzzing up and down the river. Paddle wheels flashing, iron muzzles smoking. Laramie's bow sliced across the Mersey ferry's wake, a track of yellow fizz. The ferry was packed with red cattle and tramps probably heading for the railway works in Cheshire. The sailors who had gone below hunting stowaways returned empty-handed. The river now was opening wide and green, marled with whitecaps. Their bow began to rise and fall, and some people were sick on the deck or over the side. Looking up, he saw sailors walking out the yards, high above the deck, bare feet on ratlins. The sails were still bundled in long white canvas rolls. Seabirds floated over the ship, crying bitterly. The breeze smelled of salt and kelp. The ship ahead of Laramie dropped her tow line and filled her sails, clouds of pale canvas blooming as she started to roll. Im long me shame, he thought, a ship I am. A little boat was maneuvering alongside. One of the boatmen tossed a line caught by a sailor, and the orange seller girls began going over the side on a rope ladder, swinging neatly into the boat. He watched the shipping clerk swing down to take his place. The little boat fell off, raising a red triangle of sail and making for the Birkenhead shore. Goodbye, old England, you fucker, Molly said. Goodbye, iron men, hard roads, bad sleeps, sickness. He looked at her profile. Small nose, strong chin. She was gall. She was bold. Her warm skin he loved, her scent, her clear, tough directness of thought. She was passion for staying alive. Goodbye, old Kelly, he heard her say. Goodbye, you heartless fucking Muldoon. Laramie's yards were braced, the sails filled with a cracking sound, and the ship began to surge. The tow line was cast away, and passengers began cheering wildly as the tug fell off. Laramie began to roll, and the cheering turned to terrified screaming as the world dipped. He heard Molly whoop for joy. Cutting loose the old, the everything. The country of the waves now, green and wild. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next stop, Montreal.
Next stop, Montreal, after who knows how many weeks. It's a harrowing thought in a sailing ship in the 19th century. But you know, as we sit here in our comfortable houses in front of our magic devices, elsewhere in the world, in the Mediterranean, in the oceans surrounding Australia and elsewhere, people are crammed into boats like they were then.
Exactly. They were the first boat people.
Far less secure than the Laramie. I would imagine we wouldn't want to travel in the Laramie these days, would we? Just like our forebears. Thanks again. Very good, Peter.
Thank you.
It should inspire you to look up Peter's work, I think, and his family, the story of his family. The next three songs, yes, it's a time for a three-song bit, and they represent the soundscape into which our main characters, Molly, Stephen, Leopold, were born. Babies in the womb, can hear, and many of us have felt, drawn to a style of music that seems to resonate in our bones. Stephen Dedalus, like his creator James Joyce, is allergic to religiosity, And when we first meet him in the novel, his friend Buck Mulligan mockingly blesses him by making rapid crosses in the air and then berates Stephen for refusing to kneel by his dying mother's bedside. And foreshadowing his eventual exile himself, Stephen looks out at the sea, hailed as a great sweet mother. Here to present music Stephen could have heard while in the womb when his mother was at Mass is Jose Rafael Silva, zooming in from Buenos Aires. Organ music certainly gets into your bones, doesn't it, Jose?
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Good to have you with us. Jose, you're from Venezuela, like Geraldina. Tell us about your origins now that you're in Argentina, in Buenos Aires.
Well, I was born and raised in Venezuela. I taught my music degree in Venezuela. But, well, the political and social situation in Venezuela is very, very known for many people. So I decided to migrate to Argentina because of the paperwork. It's easier for me here. And here I work in a church as an organist and singer. And I work too with Latin Vox Machine, who is a orchestra, a symphonic orchestra, chorus, and now we have an academy, a virtual academy.
So you're in exile and your origin is elsewhere, but you've made your home and I guess you're flourishing. Tell us a bit about that organ in the church.
Okay, this is a Fratelli Serassi organ made in Bergamo, Italy, from 1868. It's a very rare instrument because in Latin America it's not common to have organs in the classical Italian style. So it's perfect for doing Frescobaldi, Monteverdi, or Spanish Baroque music like Antonio de Cabezón or Correa de Araujo. But it's not that common for Bach music or others. So, but it is very good for exactly this piece we have done for this special moment.
All right, I'm looking forward to this. So are we all. It's been a while since I've heard anyone singing in Latin. Ecce sacerdos magnus. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the great priest who in his days pleased God and has been found just. Jose Rafael, it's all to you.
Thank you.
Sacerdos magnus, quindi ebus suis placuit Deo, ideo iure iurando, fecit illum Dominum crescere in plebem benedictionem hominum gentium dedit illi, et testamentum sum confirmavit super caput eius. Ideo iure iurando fecit illum Dominus crescere in plebem suam. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, ideo iure iurando fecit illum Dominum crescere in plebem
Raphael, beautiful.
Thank you.
Lovely montage too of the church and the place where you recorded that video. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this invitation, and it's a really beautiful church. It's the early 19th century, but the time passes and it's not the massive church with a huge parish, so we have to do some restorations in some parts, as you can see.
It has a lovely sound though, doesn't it?
Yes.
And we're going to go back to you in Buenos Aires a little later in the concert. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
Right now, from Buenos Aires to Saint Marthe-sur-le-Lac, Claude Gelino and Geraldina Mendez will play some klezmer for us. Now, klezmer is, you probably know this, but an instrumental musical tradition of Ashkenazi Jews of Central and Eastern Europe, though the term klezmer itself is quite recent. If Leopold Bloom's father, the Hungarian-born Jewish man Rudolf, had heard this music, he would have simply called it Yiddish music. Klez has a distinctive yearning or often sobbing sound that recalls the song of the cantors. Geraldina Mendez, hey, it's nice to see you again. I hear you're very busy teaching on.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put myself here.
You have
because I was at the piano. Hi.
Hi, you've been teaching on contract and you have a regular engagement in music at the church.
Yeah, I work in a church and I work at La Musique aux Enfants. That is a beautiful project of the OSM, the Symphonic Orchestra of Montreal. So I teach piano at Montreal Nord.
No, you're busy. And now you've hosted some of our other talents at your house. Thank you for that. Right now, maybe I should remind people that tomorrow on the streaming from Festival Bloomsday Montreal, you'll be hosting the academic panels. And then on Wednesday, you're accompanying Molly Bloom's Reverie on the piano.
Yeah, I have a lot of work.
Okay. And Claude Gelino, est-ce que vous êtes là?
Yes, I'm there, Dennis.
Ah, bonjour, merci de participer à ce festival de la culture irlandaise à Montréal. How have you been managing? I know a lot of artists have had a hard time during the pandemic with so many venues closed. How's it going?
As I could say yesterday, I play for senior people in a vaccination center in Valleyfield. So I used to play for people, senior people, and they restart some music program for them, So and I'm very happy to restart to enjoy with my music, because the people, I think they need it.
Yes, I think they do. It really helps when you're doing something new in this time. So how about some klezmer from you?
Yes, so we're gonna play something from Bulgar, from Odessa. It's traditional Jewish music.
Ah, Geraldina, Claude, klezmer for us. Thank you.
No, this is one of my favorite pieces.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Okay, we're going back to St. Mark sur le Lac later, of course, for more. Lastly, though, we're going to, in this three-song session, three-song part of the concert, a Spanish-style song for Molly, who was born and raised in the baking heat of Gibraltar, which is, of course, the southernmost tip of Spain, just off it. Joanne Patry is back with us to sing In Old Madrid, a song Molly's mind goes back to repeatedly as she lies drowsing in bed, remembering and comparing her numerous lovers. How's the world treating you, Joanne?
Oh, I can't complain too much, Dennis. A little bit warm, but otherwise I'm okay.
Well, it's great to have you back this year in the concert. I remember last year there was talk of an opera project of yours, which had been delayed. How's it going now?
Well, we're finally able to go back into rehearsals, and because of the vaccinations, it looks like we're on for November. So I'm glad to, we did so much work on it. I didn't want to just drop it and do something else, so we're going to finally, with a little luck, present that in November.
Joanne, would you please start your video? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Edmund. I was just wondering what had happened to Joanne's video. I was about to say that myself.
Oh, the video here, that's right. My video, I am accompanying myself on the guitar. I chose to record it and sing back simultaneously because this is a song that requires a bit of support,
Just a minute though, Joanne, please, because actually there's a little window on your screen that says start your video. We can't see you. We've got a black screen up here.
I see. Let's hope that goes away.
And you have to control it from your end. There you go.
Can you see me?
Oh, that's great. Now listen, before you turn on the music video, there's that big drawing that was there last year.
Oh my goodness, that's right. We see it there, a drawing. This is a drawing by Craig Morris, who did the James Joyce caricatures last year and this year as well. You should be able to find that on your website. There are great collection of Joyce caricatures and his contemporaries.
They're quite hilarious, yes. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Joanne. And you recorded your guitar accompaniment for this song, so let's have it.
Let's have it.
In Old Madrid.
Oopsie. And voila. As Madame seats herself comfortably. Years ago, in old Madrid, where softly sighs of love the light guitar, to sparkling eyes a lattice hid, to eyes as darkly bright as love's own star. There on the casement ledge where day was o'er, a tiny hand was lightly laid, a face looked out as on the river shore there stole a tender serenade, rang the lover's happy song, light and low from shore to shore. But the river flowed along between them evermore. Come, my love, the stars are shining, time is flying, love is sighing. Come, for the heart is pining, here alone I wait for thee. Far, far away from old Madrid, her lover fell long years ago for Spain. A convent veil those sweet eyes hid, and all the vows that love had sighed were vain. But still between the dusk and night, 'tis said, her white hand opes the lattice wide. The faint sweet echo of that serenade floats weirdly o'er the misty tide. Still she lists her lover's song, still he sings upon the shore, though flows a stream that almost strong between them evermore. Come, my love, the stars are shining, time is flying, love is sighing. Come, for thee a heart is pining, here alone I wait for thee. Alone I wait for thee, my love, I wait for thee. Oh, come, my love, I wait for thee. I wait, my love, for thee.
Joanne, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Joanne Patry, accompanied by herself on the guitar, and yes, Waiting for My Love, as Molly was in the book, in the novel, Waiting for Leopold to Come Home. Great to have you again this year.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you, Joanne. Now let's welcome marketing and communications specialist and translator, Martina Brannigan, who happens to have a connection not just to Spain, but to Gibraltar. Hello, Martina. Oh, Martina, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Myself.
Good.
How are you, Dennis?
I'm fine. Good to have you again this year. What's your connection to Gibraltar?
I was born there.
Oh.
Yeah, my father was in the RAF and he was posted in Gibraltar, so I was born there.
And did you spend many formative years there?
No, a year. But you know, I think we talk about origins, and I love the heat of the sun because I spent a lot of time under the sun there, and the Moorish, the Spanish traditions, all of that. It speaks to me at a level that I can't explain. So yeah, it's huge. We don't think that little children under 2 years old remember things, but I think somewhere in the subconscious we do.
Our connections are more than just our consciousness, aren't they? Now, you are going to be reading from a novel you translated from Quebec French. It's from a very popular historic and fiction series named Fenette by Suzanne Aubry, who's turned out a lot of fiction. Can you give us a bit of a background about the period and, excuse me, who Fenette is?
Yes, so Fenette starts life as Fionnuala O'Brennan, and O'Brennan happens to be a family name in Suzanne's origins, if you like, the writer's origins. And this family is forced to leave during the so-called Great Hunger in Ireland, the Great Famine of 1845 to 1849. And we meet her at 7 years of age in the novel when they're in Skibbereen. That's where they lived. But she ends up taking one of these coffin ships to Canada with the rest of her family. And there are lots of things that happen when they get this side of the water. The girls are separated from the boys, they're orphaned, and she's taken in by a farming family in La Chevretière, and the rest is history. I don't want to give too much away.
No, but you are going in the reading now to give us a taste of Fenette.
I am going to give you a taste, and I had chosen a whole lot of different passages trying to figure out, well, when we come to the theme of origins, we're not just talking about where somebody comes from or, you know, what womb they're coming from, chronologically where they come from. And so this is a time when they have the boat has just docked, the Rodina that they came on board with. And there are people who can be of very positive influence in our lives or not so positive. And there's a Father McGorn who is very positive in their lives at various different stages. So I'll read a little passage from when they're on the ship. Okay?
Okay, yes,
Right.
Martina.
All right, so down in the hold, he was surprised by the sight awaiting him. Men, women, and children were standing docilely, their hats in their hands. They had dressed in their finest clothes so as to be presentable in their new homeland. Tears welled up in his eyes. He recognized the cost of these passengers' efforts, exhausted by the voyage, starving, thirsty, and ill. Upon seeing the priest, shy smiles appeared on their pale, emaciated faces. Voices rose asking if they could disembark on land or get food and water. The priest tried to sound reassuring. The boat must be inspected before disembarking. You will have to be patient a little longer. He resented these words, which, while not wrong, masked the truth. There were not enough personnel on the island to inspect the boats quickly. These poor people would spend days on board, even weeks before receiving permission to disembark. And those who were still healthy risked falling ill in the process. He went to the back of the hold and saw a little girl. She must have been no more than 7 or 8 years old. She was sitting beside a woman and holding her hand. The child looked up at him with deep blue eyes like his own. He crouched down beside her. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She looked at him without understanding. Father McGorn, who came from the village of Bowsador in County Sligo, had learned Irish Gaelic in his childhood and still had a smattering of vocabulary. "Coddas anam dit." "What is your name?" "Fionnuala O'Brennan." The woman lying beside her was very ill, and her face had a strange buttery tinge like wax. Her eyes were closed, and she was shivering with fever. Fionnuala murmured, "Oh, Wammy, Mammy." Maureen opened her eyes and smiled wanly on seeing her daughter. A voice rose behind them. "Our mother has a fever. Please help her." Father McGorn saw a young girl with flamboyant red hair standing a few feet from him. She was with 2 boys and held an infant of about 1 year old in her arms. She had suffered from hunger, and her clothes were dirty and torn, but she seemed to be in good health. He had seen enough sick people to recognize the symptoms of typhus, diphtheria, and cholera. "Where's your father?" he asked the young girl with the red hair. She clouded over. "He died on the ship," she murmured, her eyes veiled with sorrow. Father McGorn was deeply moved by the young girl's courage and her efforts not to cry. Such misfortune took his breath away. These children had to leave this vessel of death before falling ill themselves. They had to, even if he was only able to save these few. He managed to call a meeting with the medical committee, composed of, among others, the abbot Alzéar Taschereau, Dr. Douglas himself, and a nurse, Odélie Marquette, a young novice sent by the Sisters of Charity. He pleaded his case for an hour. The objections were fast and furious. "The hospital and the shelters are already overcrowded. We cannot squeeze in a single strand of hair," exclaimed Dr. Douglas, whose red eyes betrayed his own exhaustion. "We will build others," cried Father McGorn. "With what workers? What money?" objected Douglas. "I received no reply to my recent requests. I should say, my begging," he added bitterly. Father Taschereau intervened. "We could assign healthy Rodina sailors there," he suggested. Father McGorn looked gratefully at him. Dr. Douglas shook his head. "We do not have the personnel necessary to inspect the boat at this time. We cannot take the risk of disembarking passengers, even those who are not yet ill. There are laws." "Laws! We are no longer in a position to respect them, and you know it better than anyone," exclaimed McGorn. "Boats have been arriving ceaselessly since the month of May, and London hasn't lifted a finger to come to our aid." Dr. Douglas looked at him, a gleam of reproach in his eyes. Father McGorn calmed down. "Must we wait until they all die, including those who are in good health?" A silence followed his reply. Then Dr. Douglas cleared his throat and turned towards Father McGorn. "Very well. You take charge of the disembarkation." he added with a hint of sarcasm, "And come what may." There were a few smiles. Father Taschereau got up. "I shall accompany Bernard." Odélie Marquette got up as well. "Me too." Dr. Douglas repressed a sigh and then did likewise. "Let's go before night falls." You want more?
It's very evocative, and it gives you the taste and the desire to read a little more about by Suzanne Aubry. I should remind people that this is your reading from your translation of Planète by Suzanne Aubry.
Yes.
And is that a labor of love for you in your spare time?
This was a relationship going back to the time when I was in Concordia University. And Suzanne had approached the university because she wanted to have some phrases of Irish in her French novel. And I was fascinated that somebody would want to do that. So I spoke with her and she said, "Would you mind?" And I said, "It would be my pleasure, my gift to you." Because I thought, well, why would anybody want to do such a thing? And then a number of years later, she came back and she said, "I really want this translated by a person of Irish heritage, because I want that lilt, I want that echo of Irishness to flow through." I don't know if it does, because I'm a bit of a métisse, you know, having been in a few different places in the world and having been here since 2002. But she's such a persuasive woman. She's such an encouraging person. She really believes in other people, and she wanted to encourage my writing as well. So there was a whole mix there that...
It's a series of many volumes. Can you jump into it any place, or do you have to start at the beginning?
I think you can jump in at any place, because Suzanne, her background is one of writing for television series, and you can tell that she has that capability. So she will always make sure to fill you in on the bits that you're missing. So you can jump in anytime. And believe it or not, it was supposed to be a series of 6 with 500 pages in each. It turned out initially as a series of 7 with more than 500 pages in each. And then she's just in March of this year released the 8th.
But you have your translating work ahead of you, don't you?
Well, that depends on what she decides. I've done 2 so far.
Very nice to hear you reading that and hear the story of it, Martina. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're going now to, we're going back to a song set, a set of 3 songs, but I'm going to introduce them all at once, and then our performers will just jump in one after another. Each of the songs represents one of the 3 very different main characters of Ulysses: Molly, Leopold Bloom, Stephen Dedalus. Ma Paris, performed for this afternoon by Jose Rafael Silva in Buenos Aires, is from a romantic comic opera that premiered in 1847. It's so tightly woven into the fabric of Ulysses, it'd take all afternoon to unpick all the threads. This is a favorite song of Leopold's, and it had been sung to perfection by Stephen's father, Simon Dedalus, who used to sing duets with Molly and enjoyed a bit of what she called flirtifying. "When I saw that form endearing, sorrow from me seemed to depart. But alas, 'twas idle dreaming. I am lost, for she is gone." The next song, a couple of songs, Manuel de Falla, the Spanish composer and pianist. And given that he and James Joyce shared associates and interests and were in Paris at the same epoch, their paths may have crossed. Geraldina Mendez will sing 2 of de Falla's suite of 7 Spanish folk songs based on age-old tunes of Andalusia. Molly remembers that Andalusian girl singing her Manola. And Manola Caracol was one of the most famous flamenco musicians and artists of the early 20th century, so Joyce probably knew about him. Obviously, he put him in the book. Manuel de Falla was another exile. Speaking of our origins theme, he left Spain for Argentina when Franco seized power, and de Falla refused all inducements to return to Spain in his lifetime. And for the third song, it's from W.B. Yeats, whom Joyce considered the greatest poet Ireland had ever produced, the poem The Sally Gardens. were on the banks of the Sally Gardens, is the name of the poem, and those gardens were on the banks of the river in Sligo, where willow trees, Sally means willow, cultivated to provide roof thatching materials. There you go. Now, this is set to a traditional air, the kind of parlor song Stephen would have heard growing up in a musical family. You can picture him as a small boy in his nightshirt, peeking around the banister as the sound wafts up from the parlors below. Here again, Jose Rafael from Buenos Aires. Jose.
Thank you.
Quell'angelica beltà sculto il cor dall'amor, cancellarsi non potrà il pensier di poter palpitar con lei d'amor, il desir e il sospir che m'affanna e strazia il cor, e strazia amor, il mio sguardo incontrò, bella sì, che il mio cor ansioso Marta, Marta, tu sparisti e il mio cor col tuo ne andò. La pace mi rapisti, di dolor io ne morrò. Di dolor morrò. Ahimè.
Thank you.
Al paño fino en la tienda, al paño fino en su valor, perdió su valor. Guarda una pena in mi pecho, guarda una pena in mi pecho, che a nadie se la diré. Di quién me lo dio a entender.
It's all yours, Mark.
Okay. This is the Sally Gardens. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with two little snow-white feet. She bid me to take life easy as the grass grows on the trees. But I, being young and foolish, with her did not agree. In a field by the banks of a river, my love and I did stand, and upon my leaning shoulder she leant her snow-white hand. She bid me to take life
as the grass grows but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full as is.
Mark Evans. Thank you, Mark Evans. Also, thank you to Geraldina Martinez and to Jose Rafael Silva in Buenos Aires. Sally Gardens, Manuel de Falla. Oh, beautiful, all of it. For our final reading this afternoon, I'm pleased to introduce and to meet for the first time award-winning actor and theater creator, Julie Tamiko Manning. Julie is a proud Sansai, third-generation Japanese Canadian. She'll be reading an excerpt from the Tashme Project. The Tashme Project, a verbatim theater production. Now, I've actually seen one of these productions, not one of Julie's, but a verbatim theater is a form of documented theater in which plays are constructed from the precise words, comments, lines spoken by people interviewed about a particular event or topic, real people, real comments. In this case, it's the Canadian government's roundup, displacement, internment of all Japanese Canadians from the west coast of Canada during the Second World War. Julie, I saw the note that said you were having a problem with your laptop and that you were changing to your phone. Are you there with us? Oh, there we are. Are you there? I can see you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're unmuted. The phone is working.
Yay!
Julie, great. So tell me.
Excellent.
As I said, I've seen one production of this documental theater. Tell me about how taking raw data from people's comments and conversations and turning it into art can make a difference. Can make a difference in the world, in our lives.
Well, it was a really incredible process. It actually took me and my creative partner, Matt Miwa, it took us about 9 years from beginning to the end product, because we went into the community, starting with our families, and then friends of family, and then into seniors' residences to speak with people. And we wanted to make sure that we took the time to actually create relationships with them. So it wasn't just, we didn't want to just parachute in and then leave with their stories. It's really, we wanted to really take care through that process and hearing their stories. Sorry, am I breaking up?
Well, there's a bit of a delay on the phone, I guess. So let me just jump in. Excuse me, let me just jump in here. For the last time, this wasn't a full-time job. You were doing other things as well, right?
Yes, yeah, it was. I was doing it completely for 9 years, full-time.
But it must have been quite an education, even for you, huh?
Yeah, to be able to see our community and to hear the stories of our community that had previously been very silent around the issue of internment camps, to be able to hear those stories was, it really did something for me as well, as a third generation Japanese Canadian. And there was work towards healing. I think that for the people that we interviewed and for the people in our community as well, when we finally produced it.
All right, well, we're all, not just I, but all of us, all the performers and all the people in the Zoom land are looking forward to hearing the selection you've chosen for us from the Tashme Project. Please, Julie.
Great, thank you very much. So this selection that I've made is, we will meet 3 women. The first 2 are sisters-in-law. They're Ty and Molly. And then later on, we'll meet someone named Kay, and they're all in their 80s now, or at the time of interviewing. And so they are, they're speaking of their memories of from when they were children around 8 to 12 years old. So on February 7th, 1942, just to give you sort of a bit of a background, there was a notice from the Canadian government to male enemy aliens between 18 and 45 years old. These are men of Japanese national, landed immigrant, and Canadian citizen status, ordering them to leave their homes in the protected area by March 17th, 1942. So the men were then rounded up by RCMP officers and taken to road camps in the interior of BC and Alberta. And then soon after, the women and children were shipped off to animal stables in Hastings Park in Vancouver, which acted as a holding station while the internment camps themselves were being built, mostly by their husbands and sons. So we asked interviewees what their childhood memories were around this time when they were separated from their fathers and when they had to leave their homes in BC. So I'll set the stage a bit, and then here's Ty and Molly. On stage, there's a handmade wooden table and 2 wooden chairs. On the table is a pot of green tea, 2 green tea cups, a box of Japanese snacks, and a photo album. There's a shift to memory light. Ty. They came to the house, the Mounties did, and asked for Ji-chan, and they just took him away. We didn't even know where he went. Molly. I just know Papa was gone, and one day we would be together, but I didn't know when. We didn't know where he was. You just took it as she said that he would come back. Didn't think it was strange. At that time, there was so much upheaval. You just didn't think, you just, whatever was told to you, you know? Yeah, so Mama had to do the gathering of what we could take. We had the Japanese, kori. Yeah, kori, yes. Straw, soft basket, has a soft top and a bottom. You were able to bring that? Hi, we tied it up. Oh, we couldn't bring that. We were just allowed 1 clothes bag and 1 suitcase. That's all we were allowed to take. No. We had the kori and we had a suitcase each. Yeah, suitcase each? Yeah, suitcase each. It was sad because Mama, all our mothers had to do the gathering up of what we're going to take. It was sort of like a garage sale. We would put things we can't take outside. And then people would come and they would put 25 cents or whatever. And my sister, Toyo, said, no, I can't do it. But I would stand there and I would say, no, you can't. You have to pay a little bit more. You know, I was young then, but I wasn't going to let them have everything free. That was hard. Dishes and just, you know, big display things. And here they would just not even offer $1. We did have one friend, a friend of a friend who said, we will keep your things. So we trusted, we shipped, you know, packed it and put it over there at their house, but it was all gone. I mean, they didn't keep for us. It was gone. Yeah. So it's just a case of, you lost it, ne? It would be these beautiful old Japanese vases that you see in these collector things. Beautiful dishes, and they were beautiful, but you could not take them with you. It was more clothing you took. Kimono, those type of things. You know, you didn't know where to give it, so you just put it outside because you couldn't pack it. No. Those were luxury, ne? You didn't do kimono or anything you had for odori. No, those were luxury and they were not necessity, and this was necessity time. It was sad because all the mothers at that time, they were young mothers, eh? Here they had to gather things up that they could take, no pots, no pans, no kitchen knives, nothing like that. So we had to start all over again, didn't we? Hardship all around, you know. But it's wonderful in the way that everybody looked after each other. Because in our way, you know, families with little children, you would look after the little children for mommy, you know, for the mom. I always think the mothers had it so hard. One lady had a mental breakdown on the train because her husband was taken away, her son was taken away, and she was all alone. And she had a mental breakdown. She accused everybody, and there was no one there to help her. And we had to live with this for, I think, 2 to 3 days on the train, yelling. We didn't know what to do. The mothers all had the little ones to look after, and here she is walking around ranting away. But she was so, she just lost it because her husband was taken away, her son was taken away, and she was all alone. That was hard. Yeah. So that was a lesson for me, to see that something could go wrong mentally. On stage, Molly reaches out to me and hands me a crane. There's a shift in the lighting. It goes back to present day. I open the crane and read the document typed on the inside. Notice to male enemy ages, aliens of the ages of 18 to 45 years inclusive. The government instructs me to advise you that you must leave the protected area by the 17th of March, 1942. That is to say, the area of British Columbia, including all islands, 100 miles east of the coast. Not only were the men taken away, but the women and children had 2 days to pack up their homes and leave. Kay remembers that day well because it was her birthday, her 10th birthday. 10. No matter how resilient a 10-year-old is, they're still 10. This is Kay. I remember something about Deep Bay, the day before we moved. I remember all our toys and everything had to be burnt. There was a huge bonfire and we burnt everything. And I know that I wanted a teddy bear for Christmas and I got a calico horse. No, it was a Pluto, I think. But anyway, a Pluto got burnt. And I remember that, there was nobody to send it to. Our parents burnt it because they couldn't take it. I'm sure we weren't the only ones doing it. The funny thing is, when we had to leave Deep Bay, we were on the island at the time. We had to go into these Hastings Park and then get relocated. And I remember our neighbor was German and I was only 10, but I remember thinking, how come we have to leave and he doesn't have to leave? It sort of struck me even then. The only time I've ever seen my mother cry, and when my dad and eldest brother were sent to the road camps. And I've never seen her cry since, and never before that day. But that day, she thought she was never going to see them again. Yeah, one and only. The lights shift back. And that's it.
Julie, powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right? The Tashme Project?
The Tashme Project, yeah.
Project. Thank you for being with us, Julie, today. It's very moving. Thank you for taking all that time and patience over those 9 years to find those stories from those old people now, right?
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Thanks again. Julie Tamiko Manning, the author of With Others, the Tashme Project. And of course, you can read more about Julie and all our other performers. Their complete bios are on our Bloomsday Montreal website. Thanks again, Julie. And all right, after that moving performance, we're going to end on a note, well, a very Irish and Quebec note, Bloomsdayers, we're all going back to Saint-Marc-sur-le-Lac for poetry and music. What could be more Irish or Quebecer? Poetry or music, and music by the fiddle. Some yeats and some fiddle music from Ireland and from Quebec. The Fiddler of Dooney, The King of the Fairies, and Le Rêve du Diable, The Devil's Dream. Over to you, Kathleen, Claude, and Geraldina. It's all yours.
When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like the waves of the sea.
My cousin is priest in Kilmarnock, my brother in Morecambe. I passed my brother and cousin, they read in their books of prayer. I read in my book of songs I bought at the Sligo Fair. When we come to the end of time, to Peter, sitting in state, he will smile on the three old cousins, but call me first to the gate. For the good are always the merry, save be an evil chance, and the merry love the fiddle, and the merry love to dance. And when the folk here spy me, they will all come up to me with, here is the fiddler a dooney, and dance like the waves of the sea.
You're telling us to get out of here or what? That's here. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Claude Jellineau.
Thank you.
Marvelous foot stomping stuff. I wonder if after I make the extra, we can throw it back to you, Claude, and you can take us home with some lively fiddle music, Irish or not. Anyway, let me just give you the final word here from this wonderful Sunday afternoon Bloomsday Montreal concert. Thanks to all our readers, singers, and musicians. Lots about them in their bios on our website. Thank you to Edmund Nash and Hélène Bissonnette at the Zoom controls, and to Kathleen Fee for putting together this show. So much hard work, such a great script too. I loved it, Kathleen. Thank you. Thank you to all our audience in cyberspace for your encouragement, for being there, for supporting us. You know, there's still lots more to come. Tomorrow, Carolina Martinez Mendinez is going to moderate the literary panels. And then on Tuesday afternoon, I have a conversation with Belfast-born former journalist and life coach now, Anne Lewis, who will be talking about many things, including her coming memoir about interviewing Leonard Cohen as a young journalist in Montreal. And then on Wednesday, of course, Readings Day, culminating Wednesday afternoon with Molly's Reverie. And Geraldina will be accompanying Kathleen Fee in that. Wonderful to have had you here. Wonderful to have heard all those marvelous performers. Thanks again. Next year, we'll be back and in person. Isn't that so? And thank you, of course, as always, to James Joyce. Bye for now. Over to you, Claude. That wasn't in the script, you know, so it doesn't have to happen.
Okay.
I just thought I'd throw that in. We have lots of time.
It was. Okay, I'm gonna play something. Actually, it's a Scottish lullaby.
Here he goes.
Yeah, just. Oh. Okay.